Welcome, future Spartans. I am Dr. Brett Carter, and I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor and Dean of Students here at UNCG. My job gives me the opportunity to work with our student body every single day, and I can tell you, I am consistently inspired by them. Spartans are driven, Spartans are leaders, and Spartans generally care about each other. Now, before I hand you off to tonight's panel, I want to touch base on an important point that I just talked about, and that is creating a culture of care. You see, here at UNCG, our faculty and staff are committed to making sure you have the right tools and resources to help you be successful and able to achieve your academic goals. Beyond all this, the great thing about being a part of such a close-knit campus community is that it means you get the opportunity to move past superficial and drive right to building relationships and having fun. So there's a lot going on here at UNC Greensboro, and I am so glad that you're here today with us. Thank you.
Alrighty, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to another live stream for our open house brought to you by the admissions office here at UNC Greensboro. We are very happy that you are here with us today. My name is Trey. I'm going to be our host today, and we're talking to some experts in our student engagement fields, and you are going to be able to meet them here in just 1 second. But I do want to remind all of our viewers that if you have any questions for our folks on the panel today, or for me as an admissions person, I am certainly happy to answer those for you. All you have to do is just send us a text, and you can see the texting number on the bottom of your screen, and you can also see the number below the video player on our website. So let's go ahead and meet our panel today. I want to introduce our experts in student engagement. So let's start with Lindsay. Lindsay, tell us who you are and what you do here at UNCG.
Thanks, Trey, and thanks everyone for being here. Happy to be a part of this. My name is Lindsay Wolker. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I am the interim director of our Office of Leadership and Civic Engagement here at UNCG.
Very nice. Thank you, Lindsay. Alrighty, and next up we'll hear from Elliot. Elliot, tell us who you are and what you do here.
Hello, friends. My name is Elliot Kimball. I'm an assistant director within our Office of Intercultural Engagement here at UNCG, and I use he, him, his pronouns. Thanks for being here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Elliot. All right, Tom. Tom, tell us who you are and what you do here.
Hey there, everyone. So glad you made it today. My name is Tom Martinek. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm the Associate Director of Study Abroad and Exchange Programs at UNCG.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tom. Alrighty, Meredith, tell us who you are and what you do.
Thanks, Trey. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is Meredith Atchison, and I'm the Director of Campus Activities and Programs, and I use she, her, hers pronouns.
Wonderful. All right, and we are joined by a couple of students, and these two students are experts also in their fields, not only because they have done these live streams about a dozen times already at this point, but they are just genuinely good at what they do. So, Megan, tell us who you are and what you're studying here.
So hi, I am Megan, and I'm a current student, and I'm a junior here at this institution, and I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I am currently studying finance with a music performance minor.
Fantastic, thank you. All right, wrap us up, Deja, and take us home.
Hi everyone, I am Deja Kenyon. I'm a senior communication studies major. I use she, her, her pronouns, and I'm also a Spartan guide.
Fantastic. Alrighty, friends. Well, I am glad that we are all here together today, even if it is over Zoom, and I'm glad that we are here to help our students because that is what we are here to do. Alrighty, I believe, Lindsay, you've got some information for us that you want to share about the Office of Leadership and Civic Engagement. Go for it.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, here at UNCG in the Office of Leadership and Civic Engagement, our tagline, if you will, is that we create change makers. So we help students discover what they're passionate about, how they can get engaged in the community, what civic engagement looks like. So we do that through a variety of programs. We have leadership development programs. So probably our most popular and well-known is called the Leadership Challenge. And it is a 3-tiered development program. So students take workshops, they get a leadership coach, they do assessment tools to discover more about who they are and how they engage with the world. They do community service. And so that's a pretty extensive program, and students get a big medallion when they finish each level, and they wear those to graduation. So that's pretty exciting. So our office also does leadership conferences. We do various workshops across campus in partnership with a lot of the offices that are on this call today. We also do service initiatives. So we do the big days of service that happen on our campus. So we do 2, one each semester. Our first one in the fall is called Spartan Service Day. And this year we managed to pull it off, even amidst COVID. So we had a couple hundred students engage with us on campus. We had some community partners come in and do service projects with students in the EUC building. And we also do an MLK Day of Service in January. So that day has students from all over campus, every major, every discipline, every student organization, fraternity and sorority life, all over to come together to serve our community, because service is a part of who you are as Spartans. And so we believe really strongly in getting our students active and engaged in the community. So we have days of service. We have a program called Catalyst. So these are Saturdays of service where you can do a deeper dive into a social justice or social engagement issue. So for example, this past weekend, we focused on incarcerated youth, and we worked with an organization called the Almond Connection, and they help get people reacclimated back when they have been recently released after being incarcerated. And so our students actually today are turning in letters that they wrote to some of those community members to kind of give some insight, give some hope, give some kind words as they get reacclimated into our community. So we've done service events around hunger and homelessness, around the LGBT community, around youth mentoring, all sorts of things. So if you have a passion for a social justice cause or issue or community, we could be already doing partnerships and service, but we would also love to hear from you to see where we can develop and foster some new relationships. So we are an office that can help you get connected again to the community and use some of your leadership skills to serve. And so then when you leave UNCG, you are able to create and continue the change that you want to see in the world. So Catalyst is a great program. We also, so civic engagement is part of our name. So we are the office who, we're in an election season right now. We are registering students to vote. We are educating them on how important it is to exercise that right. We are doing, some events around campus, limited and socially distant, helping them understand what it means to be a part of that democratic process. And so civic engagement is more than voting. That is, of course, a cornerstone of it, but we also have activities around democratic or deliberative dialogue. How do you have conversations with people who hold different identities than you do, might be on the different sides of the political spectrum, might come from different religions than you do, different racial identities, different sexual orientations. And so how do you develop the skills as a student leader to be able to effectively engage? Because no matter where you go from here, you will engage with people that are different than you. And so we want to make sure that you're able to do that effectively, that you're showing up authentically and genuinely you by doing self-reflection and doing a lot of things to help impact and expand your self-awareness and giving you the skills so that you feel confident in those exchanges. So we do a lot of partnerships with Elliot's office, the Office of Intercultural Engagement, through various workshops and conferences and things like that to, again, help deepen that sense of civic engagement. So service, leadership, civic engagement. We also have a Civic Engagement Academy. That's a newer initiative for our office. So it's a small cohort of students, but for a whole semester, they do workshops around, again, this idea of civic engagement. So we take students to a city council meeting and explore what that means to be engaged on the local level in your political system. We do media literacy. So how do you differentiate between fake news or what's real or what your media sources are? And so we try really, really hard to, when we say change makers, help students define what we mean by that. And what we mean is an educated, engaged, and empowered student so that they can go out again into the community and create that change. So that's a high-level overview of who we are. And if you have any questions or want to learn more, I'm happy to help answer those for you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lindsay. Yeah, and I'm really glad that you mentioned that service is such an integral part of being a student and a staff person and faculty here at UNCG, because our motto is service. And so that is why we are here. We are here as admissions counselors and as students and as everyone else on our campus and virtually to help our student body and help our community. All right, and Elliot, I believe that your office is also one of those amazing opportunities for students to engage in civic activities and to help each other out. Is that right?
Well, we sure think so, Trey. So I'll tell you a little bit more about our office. Again, I'm Elliot, and we are the Office of Intercultural Engagement, more affectionately known as OIE. We are located similarly to the Office of Leadership and Civic Engagement. They are on the 3rd floor of our Elliott University Center, named after me, in case you were confused. That's a joke. Those don't translate as well over Zoom, so I have to tell you when to laugh. But yes, we're on the ground floor level of our Elliott University Center, located in our Intercultural Resource Center. So one of the pieces of our office that I usually start with is actually talking about our space. So our space is a lounge space. Students can come in, any student can come in and spend time in there. We have sort of subsects of the space that are created intentionally for group meetings and programs that your organization may host. We also have an intercultural resource library, which is a curated selection of resources from our larger university library that relate to topics around diversity, inclusion, equity, social identities, et cetera. And that's really what we're all about. One of the large pieces of what we do is we help educate students around issues pertaining to diversity and inclusion. So we do that through educational programming and training. One of our training programs that's very popular is our Safe Zone training program, which is a 3-part training that is meant to create a network of allies on our campus for LGBTQ+ identified students. That's available for faculty, staff, as well as students. Another program that we offer is called our Spartans in Dialogue program, which is really popular. It's a 5-week intergroup dialogue experience around race. So you're engaging with people around topics surrounding race, and you have a group that you're engaging with across 5 weeks. And again, these things look a little different in COVID land as we're trying to approach everything virtually, but Spartans in Dialogue is usually something that we're able to facilitate face-to-face. We also offer larger signature interactive programming like Tunnel of Oppression and House of Privilege, which we actually transform spaces into a house or transform spaces into a tunnel where you're actually learning about oppression and privilege and what those look like in real life scenarios. We also have our community dialogue program. You're hearing the word dialogue a lot because that's one of the skills that we're hoping you will you'll sharpen up when you're working with and around programming coming from our office. We firmly believe that it's important when you leave UNCG to be able to engage across difference, and we know that dialogue is one of the most important skills for you to use when you're doing that. So our community dialogue program is one-off dialogues as opposed to a like 5-week continued experience like Spartans in Dialogue. Community dialogues focuses on current events, and students come together and they engage in those discussions with students from all across campus. Other things that we do include advocacy and outreach. So you'll see us do outreach in terms of pushing out information around Heritage Months and around specific identities and social movements. Right now, we're doing a lot of that via social media, but we do that via passive programming or tabling in the dining hall or tabling in the Elliott University Center. We do a lot of outreach around all sorts of topics to help engage students, but also keep them aware. Advocacy in the sense of we do a lot of work with students to help them to help understand barriers they might be facing, particularly for our marginalized students, supporting them and helping them sort of navigate campus and finding the resources that they need to be successful. So we do a lot of that advocacy as well. We also have many opportunities to get involved, more ongoing opportunities than just like attending one program. We also offer our Intercultural Leadership Council, which is 40 organizations that in some way have a mission that is related to the mission of our office. So helping students engage across difference. A lot of these groups are affinity groups. They represent identities, intersecting cultural experiences, et cetera. And so the goal of that Intercultural Leadership Council is to encourage student groups that have similar missions to work together and also engage across difference in the same way we encourage students to and push out programming around different identities and cultural groups and cultural heritage months and all of those wonderful things. We also have a Kaleidoscope program, more affectionately known in the shorthand as Scopes. They're peer educators. They go out on campus and educate faculty, staff, but mainly students on how to dialogue, educate around issues pertaining to diversity and inclusion. That's also a wonderful opportunity for you to get involved. You can be a Kaleidoscope within our office and be paid, and we'll train you up to be able to engage and facilitate those conversations. Again, I mentioned Cultural Heritage Month, so everything from Pride Month to Black History Month to Women's History Month to Native American History Month. Pretty much every month of our academic year is in some way associated with a heritage celebration. And so we try to do as much programming as we possibly can within that month that centers around and celebrates and raises awareness of those identities. Another one of our really cool programs is our Civil Rights Pilgrimage, where we actually take students on a trip to modern day civil rights sites. And it's a really cool, engaging, interactive experience across fall break. Obviously, that's not happening this year, but our hope is that we'll be able to bring it back soon. And then we do lots of programming at the beginning of each semester around Rock and Welcome Week, which I'm sure Meredith is going to talk about. But that's our programming that centers around welcoming students to campus. And so we do programming that helps you get to know us and helps you get to know our office and learn more about us. If you have an itching question after the fact and want to dig around our website, we have almost everything you need there, intercultural.uncg.edu. And with that, I think I talked about everything, which probably means I missed something. But Trey, that's all I've got for you.
Well, thank you so much, Elliot. It's always nice to know that we've got all of these different resources and we have the ability to have a conversation with people, which is one of the most important and often difficult, but still easy things to do. So I do want to have Tom talk about studying abroad, because studying abroad has looked a little bit different in the past 7 months, hasn't it?
A little bit.
Just a bit. What you got for us, Tom?
Thanks, Trey. So, hey, everyone. Glad you joined us. Let me just first start by saying, y'all, you got to come to UNCG. This is one of the best schools in the country. And I'm saying that not just because I work here, but I actually feel like I know UNCG better than most people. My dad's been teaching at UNCG since the late 70s. And so I was running around as a kid in buildings that don't even exist anymore on campus. So I've gotten to know this campus really well, both as a student 2 times over, through my family, like I said, but also as a person that's been working in the International Program Center for 15 years. Another reason I'll say, lots of reasons why you should come to UNCG, tons of them. And you've heard some of them today. But one thing I'll say is if you like things and people that are different, that you're picking the right campus. This is just a great place for that. And so where we fit into all that in international programs is, yes, we are the office that provides opportunities to study abroad, but also some other things that I'll mention a little bit later. But the bulk of what I do, my work, is to work with students and families to help them embark and engage on these really amazing international experiences. It's one of the things that the university kind of holds up high as one of the kind of things that they see as critical to education at UNCG. So we're really grateful for that. And so at UNCG, we've really kind of broadened our opportunities for students to study abroad. And we've got kind of the traditional study abroad models, like what I did. I studied abroad on an exchange program at the University of Oulu in Finland. And so that type of program is kind of our bread and butter program, where we partner with universities around the world. It allows you to spend a semester, a year, or a summer program at these universities. They're sending their students here at the same time. So we're receiving those international students here, and it just makes for a great partnership. It also is the most affordable way to get abroad. So if you are concerned about finances, which I'm sure people are, we've really brought the cost way down when it comes to studying abroad, and those semester exchange programs are always the most cost effective. We started with a few partner schools in the early 90s, and we're about 120 different partnerships. We have one of the largest exchange networks of a school in the country, so it's something we're really proud of. So yes, you can spend, a semester, a year as an exchange student. The other thing we've really developed and enhanced are the short-term programs, and short-term programs are growing all the time. One type of program would be a faculty-led program, where a faculty member leads a group of students abroad, and you go as a group, take part in your classes together and all your programming. And we had, back when in normal times, we had about 25 of those running, but those are going to continue to grow. And so you'll find a lot of opportunities there. We also have a ton of programs through partner universities, short-term programs through partner schools that are almost like mini exchange programs. You're still going to a partner school, taking their classes, living in their housing, engaging with people. You're just doing it for a shorter amount of time. The other, along with the finances and things like that, we're also really great at helping students identify resources to help offset some of the extra expenses. The cost to begin with are really low, but if you're really diligent and you work with us, you can find a lot of opportunities for funding. So one of the, I think, misconceptions is that study abroad is expensive. You know, my cousin went to another school down the road and it was $20,000 or something like that. Just know that at UNCG, we really work to get those costs way down because we want anybody to be able to study abroad. Another misconception is about majors. Sometimes students think like, oh, you know, I'm going into a major that just doesn't have any room for study abroad. Nah, not true. All majors have options to study abroad. So we're the ones that kind of help you work that into your degree to get you graduated on time. Another thing, nice thing is a lot of places don't require foreign language. You know, some people think, you know, if I go to China, I have to have Chinese proficiency, or if I go to France, I have to speak French. Not the case. We have a ton of places where you can go and take classes in English, even in non-English speaking countries. The other nice thing that COVID has forced us to do is think more broadly about what an international or intercultural experience means. And so we're really expanding our programming to include things such as virtual internships or other virtual programming, but also other ways to engage students, even here in your community. And you've heard from some great offices that are really at the forefront of that. But we're stepping into that area too. And so we're just going to have a lot more stuff to offer you all other than the traditional study abroad programs. Last plug I'll give is, again, for all things international at UNCG. I hope I can still say this, Trey, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but UNCG demographically has one of the most diverse student bodies in the UNC system. And that just makes for a great environment on campus where you can engage with people that are different all the time. But then when you look at our international students that come here, either for a semester or a year as an exchange student, or some that come for their whole degree, it just gives you opportunities to engage with people from other countries. So we have a lot of programming where we can pair you with international students. You can live with international students. There's always activities going on, whether it's the International Festival in April, you know, workshops, presentations, cultural events. It's just something's always happening at UNCG internationally. So it makes it a great place. It's why I'm proud to work here. And yes, I know Trey brought up the C word, COVID. Yeah, you might imagine that that's had a big impact on our programming. And it has, but the outcome actually has been really positive in some ways, because as we look towards breathing life back into our programming and all that, it's just going to be bigger and better. So like I said, y'all, you got to come to UNCG. It's the right time. It's the right place. Can't wait to see you here. Thanks a lot, Trey.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tom. And you're right on. We definitely are the most diverse school within the UNC system. So your programs definitely do a lot to aid us there. And I like that you said that all majors have options to study abroad. Well, we get people all the time that say, oh, I want to study this, that, or the other. And they're just got to work out a plan. But yes, all majors definitely have options. Alrighty, Meredith, I'll lend the mic over to you so that way you can talk to us about campus activities and programs.
Great. Thanks so much, Trey. Thank you all again for being here. It's so nice to be able to talk a little bit about our office. So like Trey said, and I mentioned earlier, our office is campus activities and programs. But if you're on campus and you're talking to other students, a lot of people refer to us as CAP. That is obviously the short version of our name. So people refer to CAP, that would be us. We too are located in the Elliott University Center with Lindsay and Elliott's areas. And so really our hope for our office is that students who are engaging with us and on campus are really able to create meaningful relationships, maybe learn a little bit more about themselves, explore some of their interests, and really kind of develop that appreciation for our community. Obviously, these things are done through engaging with some of the other offices that you've already heard from today. But for us, I'm going to talk about the 4 primary areas that our office, that make up our office. And so we are responsible for a significant number of our large scale campus student programs, social programming, educational programming, in partnership also with some of the offices that you've already heard from. We work with all of our student groups, we work with all of our fraternities and sororities, and then we also advise our Student Government Association. So I'm going to talk a little bit about each of those, because again, these are some great opportunities for you all as students to get involved, or new students. And yes, like everyone has mentioned, COVID has changed things a little bit, but it has also, as Tom mentioned, forced us to think more creatively about how we can reach students beyond our the typical students that we maybe have seen in the past. And so we appreciate a challenge. And so we've definitely learned this year on how we can continue to connect with all of our students. But and particularly with, so like I mentioned, we do a lot of campus-wide programs. Elliot alluded to earlier, a program called Rock and Welcome Weeks, which takes place generally about the first 2 weeks of the semester. And I think all of our offices are involved in that in some capacity. And so that is a series of programming that is offered pretty much the Friday of when students start to move in. It starts a little bit earlier for some other areas as well. So almost, it's a little over 2 weeks. And through the first 2 weeks that our new students are here. And so some of those are programs that are coming directly from us. A lot of our programming during that time is social programming. So we've had traditional programs that we've had for years. One of them is called Party Like a Rock Star. We've done like a Charlie's Fan Fest or Fountain Fest type program. So really a great way for students to come to campus, start to meet other people, start to learn more about the community. One of our big programs during that week also is our Fall Kickoff program, which is like a large outdoor right on College Avenue. For those of you who maybe have been to campus might know where that's at, or if you're going to come visit in the future, you will see it. A big information fair. So a lot of our student groups are out there. A lot of our campus offices and departments are out there as well. And so it's a great way for new students to learn about everything that might be happening, or kind of just ways to get involved. And so Rock and Welcome Week is a great opportunity, again, to kind of start the semester with just experiencing everything. And I encourage new students especially, to at least attend something, just so you can kind of see what is happening on campus. Last week we had homecoming, and so we are wrapping that up. That was all virtual again this year, but it's another great traditional program that has a lot of ways for new students and returning students and alumni to engage. And so we are working with a lot of campus partners on that as well. And then another one of our big signature programs that comes out of our office is Spartan Family Weekend. And so that's an opportunity for our families of our students to come back to campus. It's generally held in September. Again, with COVID this year, we couldn't hold that program, but we hope to be doing so next fall, assuming we can do that. But it's a great way for you and your family members to come kind of get back together on campus after the first 6 weeks of the semester. So maybe you've met some friends, you found some places that you really like to hang out. You can show your family that as well. And then in addition to those programs, we usually have a few programs every week, which might include things like musicians or comedians or take-home projects where you can learn how to paint something or do other crafts like that. And so there's a lot of different opportunities there, speakers to get involved. We also have ACE, which is our student programming board. And so they are a group of students who plan a lot of our campus-wide programs. And so if you as a student are like, oh my gosh, I love events, I really want to help plan them, I want to meet other people who are interested in the same things, we have different opportunities for students to actually get involved in the planning process of those. And so we've had a lot of students who do that, and then they move on to other positions within the organization to kind of have a little bit more of those leadership roles. So it's a great opportunity if that's something that you're interested in, really getting involved on campus. Another area that I mentioned too that we work with is our fraternities and sororities on campus. We have over 20 active chapters that span 4 different governing councils. And so those groups are, again, another way for you to find a smaller community within the larger community of UNCG. For some of you, a campus with almost 20,000 students might seem really large, but one thing that I love about UNCG is that I feel like it doesn't feel that big. It feels like you can find a place here to connect with people. And so through our fraternities and sororities, that's a great way to do that and to find people who have similar interests and similar values to you. Our fraternities focus on 5 main pillars, and those are scholarship, leadership, unity, service, and legacy. And so our fraternities and sororities are doing a lot of great work in the community, not only at UNCG community, but in the Greensboro community as well, to give back to some of our organizations that they can support through their philanthropy. It's really, again, just a great way for students to connect with others and to find that smaller community within this larger student body. And so a lot of our fraternities and sororities are doing a lot of really great work and positively representing their peers as well. And so similar in some ways to fraternity and sorority life is our student groups. We have over 250 active student groups here at UNCG, and those groups could range from academic-based groups to service organizations, club sports, multicultural organizations, which Elliot kind of mentioned earlier with their Intercultural Leadership Council. Many of them engage with their office in that way. There's political organizations, faith-based organizations, pretty much, or just random social interest, general topics that people might be interested in. And so Again, that's a great way to find and meet people who might have similar interests to you. I also encourage students to, maybe there's a group that you didn't like, you thought about, maybe I have an interest in this area. We always encourage students to check out groups, see if there is an opportunity for you to get involved in that way that might help you learn or learn something about yourself that you maybe didn't know before. And so again, it's a great way to just meet those people who can help build your networks. And also we'll work with students too. If you want to start a new student group, we can help you figure out kind of how to do all that and make sure that we can help you be successful at UNCG. And then the last main part of our office is the Student Government Association. And so SGA, some of you may have been in student council or are currently in student council while you're in high school or before coming to UNCG. And so it's somewhat similar to that, depending on what it looked like. But essentially, our Student Government Association is our governing body and really the voice of our student body. And so they are frequently connecting with our administrators to make sure that the student concerns are being heard. They're implementing legislation and policies that can impact kind of how the group governs, and also to make sure that they are sharing that information with others and making some changes on campus. And so the great thing about student government is that you can join at any time. Well, during, like, you don't have to have experience to join student government. You can join during their election cycles. And so then even as a new student, so if you are interested in student government and you start here in the fall semester, we do like a special elections. And so that students, like new students, can join at that point too. So again, with anything that we're doing, it's all of our programs, groups are open to all of our students. And so it's a great way for you all to just connect back to campus and connect with others. And despite COVID, we've seen a lot of really creative programming coming from our student groups and our student government, our fraternities and sororities to still be engaged and active and to make those connections, because we know that can be a challenge when you maybe can't see people face to face. But the great thing is that our students here are wonderful and they're figuring out how to make it work, and we're happy to support them in doing so. And then one thing I'll plug as well, if you are interested in just checking out our student groups or some events, what might be happening on campus, and I think all of our offices for the most part use this, but you can go to Spartan Connect. You won't have the credentials to log in, but a lot of the information on there is public, and you'll be able to see like what student groups are active. You'll be able to see some events. And so if you're interested, you just check out what might be happening on campus right now and see which student groups we have. You can go to that website, and it is spartanconnect.uncg.edu. And I think that's all I have. So I will turn it back over to you, Trey.
Thank you so much, Meredith. It's always nice to know that there's always something going on here at UNCG, and I think that's a pretty common thread that is going to go throughout our time together today, but it is good to know for sure, especially from the grown-ups in the room. So I do want to talk to our students, so I'll start with Deja, and then I'll ask Megan. Have you, either of y'all, used any of these services before? And just kind of tell us about your interactions with them. You can only pick one if you wanted to talk about one, but Deja, how about yourself?
Just like Meredith said, I think one of my favorite things to come into UNCG as a freshman was the Rock and Welcome Week. It was a lot of different events to just participate in, and coming in as a first year student, that was something that I definitely needed. I still vividly remember my roommate and I going to the events, planning out which ones we were going to go to, and meeting different people. Any of the events on campus, I know that I can go into that space, have a good time, feel safe, and then also get something out of it, whether it's a social event or whether it's an event that's more educational. So I've definitely utilized that office before. And I love coming to UNCG and figuring out what events I can go to with my friends, or events even that I want to go to by myself, because it just gets you more acclimated to UNCG and just more open to different opportunities that they have.
Mm-hmm. Very nice, thank you. And Megan, how about yourself?
I think I have worked a lot with the Campus Activities and Programs Office with Meredith. I have been a part of Student Government Association my freshman year as a freshman senator, and then my sophomore year, I was on the executive board as a secretary of academic affairs. So I've also been a part of a sorority, so worked very closely with the CAP office. And then actually, whenever I was an orientation leader, I listened to Tom every Wednesday at 2:00, do his little study abroad program, and that's kind of, I think, what got me into wanting to study abroad myself. So and then I've also visited a lot of the events that Lindsay and Elliot have put on. I did the leadership challenge, and then I've also been a part, or I've went to the House of Privilege. So they put on tons of great programs for students, and I really enjoy all of these programs that are here with us today.
Fantastic. The leadership challenge is something that I find incredibly fascinating that Lindsay's office puts on. So, Deja, I know, having worked with you as a Spartan guide, that you are a resident advisor, and Megan, you also went through the leadership challenge, and resident advisors go through the challenge as well. So, do either of y'all want to talk about how the leadership challenge goes, the different levels of it, any of your experiences, and then Lindsay, you can kind of hop on to the end if you need to.
I can go first, I guess. So, I actually started in my freshman year, and then I kind of, I don't want to say I dropped out, but then I kind of paused in the program for a little bit to be a part of some other different things that I was currently spearheading. But I was actually part of the first one, which I think is the Bronze Leadership Challenge, and I went to all these different not lectures, but almost sessions where you learn different aspects of leadership on a base level. And it was a really, really well done program, because you would go to these different sessions, and you would be learning how to be a leader, how to find a leader within yourself, how to explore different types of leadership. And I think they were just really well done and well presented programs that were put on.
Yeah, and for me, I'm not sure if this was in earlier years, but as far as I know, resident advisors, we haven't been required to complete the leadership challenge, which I wish that we would. That'd be really interesting. But I definitely do have friends and residents who were involved in it. And just like Megan was explaining how it goes with starting off as bronze and just getting yourself into different leadership activities and understanding what it means to be a leader on campus. We have a lot of student leaders here, and I think that's a great thing, because even after you graduate, it's something that you're going to need to know how to do, and definitely incorporate that into your lifestyle.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Lindsay, anything you want to add to us?
Yeah, I'll just say, for the audience, leadership is one of those things that employers want to see. And so that's really something that, that I think UNCG holds as a high value for the educational component for students. And so consistently we're hearing from employers who are coming to campus who are saying, we love to see leadership programming on resumes. We love to hear students talk about their experiences with leadership when they're at UNCG, because that means that when they come to us, they're primed and ready to go and ready to engage with our with other coworkers, with the community, with whatever the place that they're going from here. So the leadership challenge, just to get just a little bit more information for those who may be interested. So hundreds of students participate in this challenge. And there are no prereqs. So any major, any student, any year, you can join it at any time. It is an at your own pace. And so when Megan said that she started and then stopped, she can come back to it. She can start over. She can go to the next level. It's really a do it yourself kind of experience. And so where there's 3 levels: bronze, silver, and gold. So you start at bronze. There are workshops that you attend, reflections that you write, community service that you engage in. Then our silver level is a one-to-one leadership coaching experience. And the thing that's really cool about that, especially at a school the size of UNCG, is that we are able to pair you one-on-one with a staff member, a graduate student, a community partner, whoever. We have a bunch of coaches around campus who volunteer their time. Some are on this call. Thank you very much. But those are staff members, students, like I said, who sit down with you and have one-on-one conversations about your leadership growth. And so on a school, like I said, the size of ours, sometimes it's rare to have those developmental conversations with people who are speaking to you unbiased, right? They're just hearing your story and hearing how they can offer support and help and resources to your leadership journey as you continue at UNCG. So you do, coaching sessions, you do professional development hours, you do service. And then when you move to our gold level of the leadership challenge, it is a community-based project. So when we said, service is a component, service is almost expected for UNCG students. You will at some point engage with the community. And so this is again, a build your own project. So if you have a passion for an area, or if you have something you want to learn a little bit more about, you spend an entire academic year building something that at the end you can say that you accomplished with a community partner. So we have students who have built a garden at a church. We have students who have created a breast cancer awareness walk. We have students who have built mentoring programs for youth mentoring organizations in Greensboro. It runs the gamut of topics. And so it's really, again, your passion, your choice. And so it's a really cool, I mean, obviously I'm a little bit biased because I oversee it, but I think it's a really cool program, and you get out of it what you put into it. And we put a lot of work into it. And so we're hoping that students are taking a lot of great skills from it, but it really covers the basics. And the thing about leadership, and I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, but the thing about leadership is everyone can be a leader. Everyone has the skill set to practice and engage in leadership. So you do not have to have experience in it beforehand. We will help you discover what the skills that you're bringing are so that you can shine in whatever leadership capacity you take on. So I just really love the program, as you can tell, I hope.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. I am glad that you're passionate about it. That is the way that we would describe it. And I'm glad that we are still talking about leadership, because we've actually got a question here. And it's, do I have to wait until I'm an upper class student to have a leadership position? And the question doesn't specify in what group, but I think, Megan, you mentioned earlier that you were a freshman senator for our Student Government Association. So are any leadership positions within any of our organizations here restricted to upper class students? All right.
I can answer from like the student group perspective, but no. Some groups, so SGA has some requirements for like some of their like very like upper level leadership positions where you have to have been in, it's really just the president and vice president have to have had some experience in SGA, but it's not like years, or it's not a significant amount of time. So like Megan mentioned, as a first year student, you can join and run as a freshman senator. And then some of our other student groups, I've known first year students who have become presidents as they're kind of transitioning into their sophomore year. And so not necessarily, and I mean, Lindsay can speak more specifically to their program. I think she already mentioned that you can stop kind of whenever works best for you.
Fantastic. All righty. Well, thank you so much for that. I do have a question here for Elliot from one of our students who is watching right now. They're saying, I am an LGBTQ plus student and I am wanting to attend UNCG. Can you talk about some of the resources and opportunities available for me, or any kind of specific student groups or anything that we've got available?
Yeah, so I will boast that we have a 4.5 out of 5 stars for our Campus Pride Index, which is a national organization that works to recognize colleges that are really built to support queer students. And so that is sort of one of the things that I like to talk about, because the Campus Pride Index really focuses on everything outside of programming, but really looking at policy, looking at the availability of coursework you can take related to sexual identity and gender identity and queer identities. But in terms of resources, we have, which is something you can check out, anybody can access it. But if you go to our webpage, intercultural.uncg.edu, we have a group on our campus called the Gender Diversity Working Group, which has done a lot of work to help remove barriers for trans, non-binary, gender diverse students to help them better succeed on our campus. But we put together a toolkit, which is available on our website. And even though a lot of our resources focus on gender diverse students, there's lots of wonderful resources and information, both in that toolkit, but also generally on our website, about how you can change your name on campus, about locating all gender restrooms, about navigating housing and residence life processes. So again, we have lots of resources on our website, which is probably the best place for you to start if you have specific questions. You can also reach out to our office directly. But in terms of programming, we're really proud to offer a lot of programming that is queer focused. I mentioned Safe and Trans Zone, which is one of the programs that helps us increase awareness and inclusion on our campus for queer students. We also have our LGBTQ plus Lunch and Learn series. We offer sex ed for all a few times a year, which is a partnership with Planned Parenthood. It's sex education inclusive of gender and sexual orientation, which is something most students have not received when they come to UNCG. We have our drag bingo every fall, which is a really popular event. We collaborate with campus activities and programs on that. We offer our drag show, also a collaboration with CAP that happens in the spring. So that's just programming that's coming out of our office. We also have a team of students known as our gender and sexuality educators, and they work to create programming and resources specifically for queer students. So they're also putting out programming. We celebrate Pride Month in April because that's technically Campus Pride Month, and Pride Month is in June, and most of our students are away doing wonderful things. So we have something almost every single day in April. And so that's just one of the months that we kind of jam pack full. But again, yeah, we have lots of programming that's related to LGBTQ identities. We also have student groups. The one that comes to mind right now is No Labels, which is one of our student organizations. They focus on the intersection between queer identities and race, but anybody is welcome. They work to create a social space for queer students. So yeah, I hope that was probably just like rambling in circles. That is my area, my functional area. So I could talk about that all day, but those are just some of the things that we do to support queer students. I personally, very biased, think that we do a wonderful job. And I, as a queer person, would encourage you to consider UNCG because I do think that we do arguably the best job in the UNC system.
I would agree. Thank you so much, Elliot. And finding your way here at UNCG has many levels to it, so we are certainly able to help you out there. Alrighty, I do have a question that I'm going to send over to Tom. The question from our viewer is, I really would love to study abroad, but I have never left the country before, and I am scared. What do I do? Is that a problem? Please help me.
Thanks for the question. Well, you come to see us. That's what you do. And no, it's not a problem at all. I had never studied abroad. I was actually, when someone came into a classroom when I was at UNCG in undergrad and they said, hey, we've got this study abroad program in Finland, I basically looked around the room and said, hey, that's for all y'all. I don't need to go anywhere. Everything's fine here in Greensboro. I got my family. So I was not the one running in the door on the first day to the study abroad office. And it's because I was close to my family, pretty comfortable where I was. The thought of going somewhere that I didn't know anything about was a little more nerve-wracking than exciting. So all I can say to that is, one, that's a very normal kind of way to approach these experiences. Sometimes I get concerned when people don't have any anxiety or anything. So to have a bit of anxiety or uncertainty about it is completely normal. The one thing I will say, and this was the case with me, is I just didn't realize all the stuff that I was going to be doing prior to going. And I didn't, our office, we work so close with the students and the families in a very personal way. And we spend a lot of time individually, helping you find programming, but also just a lot of time with that preparation before you go abroad. There's a lot that goes into it. And part of that preparation are workshops and information about being away from home, culture shock, adjusting to a new culture. So from the time we meet a student, the first time to the time they go abroad, in my mind, they've already kind of been transformed. They're approaching things in a completely different way. The things that were scary and unknown are more familiar. Things now start to become exciting. And then certainly we're always there with the student while they're away too. We're always connected to the students. So if there are problems or anything happens, you've got, great resources here at UNCG, but also with our partners abroad and things like that. So all I would ask you to do is please come and see us, because I think a lot of the things that you may perceive as barriers or just scary, unknown, you'll be surprised at after you work with us, those barriers start to fall and the unknown things become known, and you just become a lot more comfortable. So it's one of the things we pride ourselves on, is the work that we do with students to prepare them, not just to overcome fears and things like that, but to help them have a good experience, not just get abroad and come back. We don't mark that up as, oh, well, that's a good experience. They got on a plane and they made it back. No, we want people to be able to engage in the culture that they're in, explore things, and come away with life skills that'll stay with you forever. That's the big thing about study abroad and all these experiences that we're talking about. This is stuff that stays with you for a lifetime. So to not study abroad or to not come and see us, we'd be wasting one of the best things about the university. So I'll leave it at that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Megan and Deja, have either of y'all studied abroad or known anyone who has?
I actually have a friend who studied abroad. It was a summer program to Costa Rica, and he really, really enjoyed it. It actually made me want to go. But yeah, and I have other friends just being in the honors college with being part of the international honors part. It's a requirement to study abroad, whether that's a semester, maybe if you want to go like for a full year, or even a summer program that still matches with the honors college requirements. So I've had friends that gone to France, like I said, Costa Rica. One of my friends, she wanted to go to Hong Kong. So a lot of different just areas that they've been to, and they really enjoy just getting that international experience, because of course it's kind of hard to get that here, and just having that experience that they had.
Fantastic. Alrighty. Thank you so much, everyone. Tom, I kind of have a follow-up question here for you. What are some of the most common countries that UNCG students go to?
Yeah, good question. Kind of the well, call them the usual suspects, but the ones that you might expect that people would be drawn to, sometimes the more, what might seem more familiar to people, certainly programs in Western Europe, the UK, Australia. I tell you what, the country that is where the numbers are just shooting through the roof is South Korea. We have just seen an explosion of interest in South Korea. I'm guessing it's K-pop. I don't know. I don't care. But it's just been interesting to see. But the other thing about UNCG too is, yes, we'll have those programs that you might be more familiar with, and in places you might be more familiar with. But we also really try to broaden where we send students geographically into a lot of non-traditional places. I studied abroad in Finland. Yeah, it's still Europe, but it's a little bit more non-traditional than Western Europe. We have a lot of really cool places, programs in the continent of Africa. We're broadening our programs in Asia, so not just Korea, but looking at places like Taiwan, Vietnam, and South America is also, we're broadening our programming in South America. So sometimes some of the more non-traditional places can really be, eye-opening. Any program is going to be good. Like anywhere you go, you're going to have an amazing experience. But sometimes it's worth checking out places that you never heard of or you don't know anything about. To me, I think that's what, I told you I was a little hesitant about Finland, but after I started looking into it, I was like, wow, that sounds really interesting. I just don't know anything about it. But we have a lot of those traditional places, and the usual ones, Western Europe, Australia, those probably are the ones where we send the most students to.
Fantastic. Alrighty, thank you. Meredith, our next question goes to you, and it looks like this person may be a first-year student who's going to be commuting to campus, and so their question or their worry is that they're not sure if they're going to be able to really connect with the people on campus that they interact with every day because they're commuting back and forth. So is there any kind of program for the student to meet people or to get used to being on campus?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we do offer a series of programs called Minerva's Middays. And so that programming happens during the day, during the week. Typically Wednesdays, but sometimes that changes up kind of depending on what we're doing. And while those are open to all of our students, we do see a high number of commuter students who attend those programs. And that was kind of who they were initially designed for. And I think too, as we've, like I mentioned earlier, making that transition to COVID or with COVID, have been looking at more, we've seen an increase in overall in general of our students that are attending our programs or participating are commuter students. And so it's definitely something that we consider and think about regularly. Our student groups also typically meet during the week. There's a few that might meet on like Sundays, but for the most part, student groups that we work with are meeting with during the week. And so many of those students are also commuter students. It's interesting when we look at like in an average year, typical year, a lot of our like large scale programs are more attended by our on-campus students because a lot of those are on the evenings or the weekends. But then when we look at the demographics of our students attending daytime programs, as well as the demographics of our students who are attending or who are participating in student groups and fraternities and sororities, the larger majority of those students are commuter students. And so there's definitely that feel where just because you might not live right on campus, you can definitely still connect with students who are interested, meet with those students. And I think too, especially with kind of reimagining how we use our virtual options, I've seen a lot of student groups transition to that. And I would anticipate that some of them might continue some of that virtual engagement beyond just this year. And once we kind of return to some more traditional programs. So there's definitely ways for commuter students to get involved and to stay involved and to connect with others, especially as it pertains to student groups, interests, and kind of being here and participating while they're on campus. So certainly a lot of ways to get involved. And I think between all of our offices too, there's also opportunities during the day as well, just because we know that, again, not every student is able to stay late or they have family obligations, or a lot of our students have jobs. And so they're balancing a lot of different things. And so if students are already on campus for a couple classes, we try to keep in mind what those schedules look like on different days of the week, at least like a general schedule, and offer programs during the day, during the week as well. So yes, I certainly think that as a commuter student, they could definitely get involved in a variety of options and opportunities here at UNCG.
Fantastic. Alrighty, thank you so much. Lindsay, this question is going to go over to you, and there's a couple different parts of it, but they all relate to the main question. We've got one of our viewers, and their name is Oliver, and Oliver is wondering, are there any opportunities for ongoing service projects? And they specify not just a one-time event, but a sustained full-year project, specifically getting food from fresh local farms to food insecure populations in the Greensboro area.
Yeah, great question. So as some of you may know, Greensboro is a food insecure community. So that means that a certain percentage of our residents experience food insecurity at some point. And so that doesn't just impact the community outside of UNCG, that includes our community or our students as well. And so we have on campus, it's called the Spartan Open Pantry. So that is a food pantry that is available to students, staff, faculty, community members. And so the thing to know about, so you can volunteer at Spartan Open Pantry. So students serve as, they stock the shelves and they help guests when they arrive, navigate through the pantry. So that's one way. You can volunteer the whole year if you want at Spartan Open Pantry. We also have a partnership called the Farmer Food Share. That is with the Greensboro Curb Market. So that's one of the farmers markets in Greensboro. And so essentially we have students that are interns with our office that serve as the Farmer Food Share intern. So Farmer Food Share is a program where we have a table set up at the farmers market, and people, community members, whoever is at the market stops by, and they can donate food or fresh produce from the market to our table. I mean, food, did I say food and fresh produce? Those are the same thing. I meant fresh produce and money. They can donate money or produce from the farmers. And so at the end of the market, we take the money that's donated and we go around the market and buy fresh produce from the farmers that are at the market. And then we take all of that produce to local food pantries in Greensboro, because as some of you may be aware, oftentimes it can be hard for people that are experiencing food insecurity to have access to fresh produce. And so we've established a partnership where we can not only support our local farmers, but also support our food pantries with some fresh access to produce. So those are two programs that we have particularly. So those go all year. Actually, the Farmer Food Share goes beyond the academic year. So that also occurs over the summer. And the food pantry, I believe, also runs all year. So that is something that you could volunteer at. For so if you want to if you do the leadership challenge, then you get to the gold level, and then the gold level is where you create a project that is a year long. And so that project can be around food insecurity, and you can engage in that way. So we have a few access points if that's something that you're looking for, and we'd be happy to talk with you about that.
Fantastic, thank you. It's important to remember UNCG motto is a service, so that is what we are here to do. Tom, Oliver actually has a follow-up question, and they're wondering, are there any service-based study abroad programs?
Great question, Oliver. Keep them coming. Yes, is the answer. We have a lot of our partner programs, just like a lot of universities, recognize that, getting students abroad and doing the traditional study abroad program, we're all good at that. Like we've gotten that under our belt. So now we're looking at, what else can students do to engage in while they're abroad that gets them out of the classroom into the community. And so it looks a lot different in different places and programs. Some of them have like kind of structured programs that are for credit where it's more service-based or internship. But the majority of them just have, very similar to the offices we have on campus that connect you to the community. You can get engaged with that office that would then help you get engaged into the community, whether it's doing, volunteer work, just again, finding people that have similar interests, stuff like that. So yes, most definitely. And we see that as a critical part of the study abroad experience because it kind of adds a whole nother layer to it as far as your cultural immersion. So we're big proponents of that, and we'll help you find those opportunities.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much. And we are nearing the end of our time together. So I want to have Megan and Deja just wrap us up and give us their piece of advice for any prospective student who wants to get involved at UNCG. So let's go in reverse order from how we started. Megan, let's go with you.
I think my piece of advice would be get involved like ASAP, like the second you step foot on our campus, get involved. I want to say that is kind of what has led to my success that I am at now. I started out as part of the Student Government Association that tumbled me into being an orientation leader, that went into joining a sorority, that got me into being a brand ambassador for the Career and Professional Development, and then I became a brand ambassador for the Bryan School of Business Economics, and I'm a Spartan guide, and the list goes on and on. And that has ultimately landed me. I have now an internship with Northwestern Mutual, and that has really put me into my career field of interest. So get involved ASAP. That would be my advice.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you. And Deja, what you got for us?
Just like Megan said, I would say the same thing. Make sure you go ahead and get involved and go ahead and go into something that may be your interest area or maybe not something that you're interested in. You never know what's going to really pique your interest. My first year, I applied to be a Spartan orientation leader. And from that point on, like as Megan said, the doors just kept opening. So new opportunities. I worked in housing residence life as a resident advisor, then as a senior resident advisor, being Spartan guide, then going up to Spartan guide captain. So it's a lot of opportunities that are here at UNCG. You just have to, apply yourself and go for it.
Fantastic. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We can see that Lindsay had to scoot. She had another presentation to give, but thank you, Lindsay, for being here with us and representing your Office of Leadership and Civic Engagement. Well, friends, that does wrap us up for today. I want to thank all of our viewers for being here with us. If you want to join us again at 6 p.m., you are more than welcome to. We are going to be talking to our residential colleges. You can also rewatch any part of this live stream today on our YouTube channel. And if you have any more questions, you can text us and we will provide you an answer. Or if you want to get a customized experience for your time at UNCG, you can go online to our website, which you should already be on, and create your own custom view book so you can get customizable ideas about the offices and engagement opportunities that you can take part in here at UNCG. Well, friends, that is going to wrap us up. I am so glad that we could be together, and I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. We will see you again at 6 o'clock, and until then, go Spartans.